Hello, you're listening to Lasertearz of Shadecore, and unfortunately, Malia could not be here today, but we have a lot of exciting and disturbing things to cover. Today, we're going to cover some of the events that unraveled at Burning Man this past week. So we have a lot to cover today, and it's going to be in a bit of a different format than what you've been seeing with me and Malia. So bear with me. We're still new, doing this for funsies. So for those of you who aren't aware, Burning Man is an event that takes place for 1 week every year in Black Rock, Nevada, which is about 100 miles northeast of the Reno region of Nevada. Some of you might be more familiar with because it's kind of like the cheaper of Las Vegas if you can't afford to go to Las Vegas. But the origin of the Burning Man, is that it started in 1986, and two men, Harvey and James, built an 8-foot tall wooden effigy of a man and burned it on Baker Beach in San Francisco. Since then, it's become this community ritual. A lot of people go in and they have artwork there, installations, dancers, pretty much anything you can think of. There's something for someone. A lot of people go in groups and they go in with RVs. So this event has become so big since 1986 when it first started that it's moved to Black Rock, Nevada, and this year 80,000 people attended. So something unusual that happened this year at Burning Man was on Wednesday, August 27th, a 37-year-old Burning Man attendee by the name of Kayla Thompson began experiencing severe pain. She was thinking it was food poisoning, so she was in her RV, all uncomfortable. Clearly, they found out it was not food poisoning. Kayla Thompson was not aware that she was 35 weeks pregnant. As luck would have it, she was actually neighboring with several medical workers nearby, including OBGYN Jacob Christ and registered nurse from the Bay Area, Maureen O'Reilly, who has approximately 25 years of nursing experience, including neonatal and ER nursing.
My campmates ran over and said, somebody just had a baby. I started yelling at people to turn the heat on, to get me some blankets.
Two other strangers, an emergency nurse and an OBGYN, also sprang into action.
They actually lift up the baby just as I get into the RV.
Worried about the lack of medical supplies in a rugged environment, Maureen held the baby until medics arrived.
Luckily, the child was delivered. The baby girl was born, and she was flown in via helicopter to the renowned Regional Medical Center in Reno, Nevada at 3 pounds, 9.6 ounces. She is in the NICU right now. Will be there until she recovers. So my best wishes for the family.
Parents have already called me third grandma, which is so sweet.
Third grandma Maureen got a chance to visit the baby and her parents in the hospital NICU on Sunday. Aurora, named for her early morning birth, lighting up the Burning Man sky.
And they named her Aurora, so that's cute. What I thought was so interesting about this was because I heard about this story last week, pretty much right when it happened. And I was thinking in my head, oh, she didn't know she was pregnant. She must have been like 19, 20. But this is a 37-year-old woman, you guys.
A cryptic pregnancy, they all later learned, which happens to about 1 in 2,500 women.
She did not look pregnant, not one bit.
She had what was called a cryptic pregnancy, and I'm actually not familiar with that term, so I had to look into it. Most people realize they're pregnant somewhere between 4 to 12 weeks because of symptoms such as a missed period, nausea, increased appetite, wanting to sleep all day. They take a pregnancy test. But in a cryptic pregnancy, people are either not showing signs of a pregnancy or they're not aware of it. And I read that some people who are at risk are people who are on birth control, people with certain conditions such as polycystic ovarian syndrome, people who recently gave birth might not have the normal signs. And sometimes you're not aware that you're pregnant even until labor begins, which I don't know about you, but it sounds freaking terrifying. And I didn't catch the name of this or the father, but he was also at Burning Man, and he said in one of the interviews, you know, if I had known that this was going to happen, Burning Man was the last place we would be. So best of luck to them. I'll link their GoFundMe below because obviously they weren't expecting a child. They thought they were leaving as a couple, and they're leaving as a triple with a new baby, and they've had to pay for lodging and food and stay in town with all the medical expenses. It can't be easy. So I'm going to link the GoFundMe below. Okay, something more disturbing though that happened. I swear, 37 is like the new 27 club age this week or something, because it's just oddly coincidental that they're both the same age. One resulting in birth, one resulting in death. And I just want to warn listeners that this next story is pretty gruesome. It involves a homicide investigation and some graphic detail. It's eerie. So take care of yourself, do what you got to do. Okay, so Vadim Kruglov was a 37-year-old Russian native from Omsk, Siberia, who at the time was residing in Tacoma of Washington state. He had arrived at Burning Man with other friends on Wednesday, August 24th. And a few days later, friends reported him missing, stating that he had left his tent and his belongings at camp but never returned. By Tuesday, August 26th, that's about 2 days later, his friend Sofia Sherbakova, who he had come to the event with, also took to posting on social media and Instagram with several photos of him, stating she was concerned and he was missing. And on Saturday, August 30th, around 9 p.m., when the effigy of the Burning Man, which is kind of the centerpiece of the whole event, everybody comes to Burning Man and then they watch this huge wooden statue effigy of a man burn to the ground. And there are several parties, people are dancing, there's music, live art while this is going on. So, as you can imagine, there's tons of people, tons of foot traffic. And while this burning of the effigy was happening, local authorities of Black Rock City were alerted to a gruesome sight. And one investigator stated that he arrived upon the site of a body that was obviously deceased. They identified a male body that was lying in a pool of blood in a tent with his throat slit. Part of the site in the Black Rock Desert was curtained off as local authorities began investigating the crime scene. They were able to recover a cell phone and a knife. They have had no lead suspect in this case. According to Sheriff Jerry Allen, several participants in the immediate area were interviewed. Officials have described what took place as the result of a singular crime and have yet to identify a suspect. The victim's body was taken to the Washu Medical Examiner's office and identified as 37-year-old Vadim Kruglov, who had been missing. This case is currently being investigated as a homicide case by the Pershing County Sheriff's Office. This case remains a mystery, and the victim's father has posted in his own social media platform stating that he wants justice for his son. A GoFundMe has been set up for Kruglov's family to send his body back to Siberia and for the funeral costs. And somebody wrote, Vadim poured his soul into our community, building camp, creating art, helping others, and always sharing his kindness and energy. And this is on his fundraiser page, which I will link below. The Pershing County Sheriff's Office continues to request any and all information that may help with this case. And this case gets murky because there's a lot of different sources, and some of them say different things. So I can imagine this is going to be a very challenging case to solve, just because you're walking onto a desert. Everything was built and taken down. And again, this is such a big event that happens every year with 80,000 people. They're all in the dust. And within 9 days, it's disassembled. So I hate to say it, but it's kind of a perfect scene for a crime. I never thought about it that way, but because there are so many attendees, but a lot of these attendees, they're doing their own thing. There's desert storms going on, maybe drinking or on substances. I don't want to say everyone is, because I know there's a whole sober population that goes and there's a family population that goes, but there is a large population that is not coherent. So you're not going to get the best witness statements either. One of the Burning Man mottos is to leave no trace behind, because they're environmental and everything you bring, you got to take with you. So it's like stepping onto a desert cruise ship. And I'm assuming that the local authorities are racing against time here. And I'm just wondering if there's a toxicology report. Was he drugged? Did they actually recover a cell phone and a knife? And did they fingerprint it? Obviously, do your own research, but you can kind of go into a rabbit hole trying to research various theories on what might have happened. A source on Daily Mail that said several festival goers in an online chat group recounted running into an unhinged stranger the night of the killing, a man described as allegedly boasting about having a knife cleaning blood from his RV. Another very unsettling testimony that I read in the Hollywood Reporter, not a very reliable source, but a female attendee of Burning Man who is from Venice Beach that wished to remain unidentified. We'll call her you going forward, you for unidentified. So you had this horrible feeling come down on her when she was watching this effigy burn. Shortly after, she and her friends who were partying started to get ready to leave the festival, and a woman in her 50s or 60s came up wearing a red dress to you and her friends. This woman reportedly had an Israeli accent. She came to their car. We opened the window, and she was very calm and said to us that someone in her tent was bleeding out and might be dead. When we asked the woman if she had checked his pulse, she told us no, she doesn't want to touch him. So that's when the group of friends used Starlink to call a Black Rock City ranger who they knew personally, and was working at the festival. And this ranger relayed the news to the sheriff's office. So who was this 50, 60-year-old woman in a red dress that came and alerted these festival goers? And why was she so calm? Like, did this really happen? Was this a hallucination? Is this somebody just trying to be interviewed by a Hollywood Reporter? I don't know. What do you think? Either way, I would want to look into it. It's eerie as hell, but yeah, it's really disturbing.